Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry this took so long. I procrastinated a good bit on this. Anyways, today I'd like to start a new series, Wallace Reviews. Very narcissistic, I know. And we're not going to be using the bear for this. It's me, in the flesh, sort of. As you can see, you can only see the lower part of my body. That's because I don't want my face out there for people to potentially dox me, especially since I make informal videos on Russian gear. But with that out of the way, welcome to a new series. Also, these videos will be marketed towards Europeans and American views, so don't expect me to bring up rubles or anything like that. So, let's get started. Before I go on, I want to explain who I am a bit. I've tried multiple pieces of gear from various continents, North America, Europe, and Asia. I also have experience in both civilian and military environments. I'm not a military veteran or contractor or anything like that, I've just done my fair share of teaching and training. So I hope you understand that when I talk about these vests, I'm not just some random airsofter or LARPer. Most of my opinions come from personal experience and how I felt when actually using the vest. So with that out of the way, let's finally talk about the vest. The Ars Arma A25 Starters, or Astartes, or Beast, whatever they call it now, was one of the two vests released in 2025 by Ars Arma, the other being the A25 Hype. The Astartes, which I'll be referring to as Starters, was revealed at one of the store openings in Rostov on Don, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and of course promoted on their social media accounts. The A25 Starters was also shown off by Raz Vidos, a very popular Russian military veteran and gear blogger. You may know him from his work, or from the Gostomil pictures. The name A25 Astartes may sound familiar because it comes from Warhammer 40k, the Adeptus Astartes, better known as the Space Marines. I'm sorry if I butchered that, I don't really play a lot of 40k. Before its release, it was reportedly put into frontline testing by the commander of the Tender Fellows unit, the same guy who I brought up in my Ars Arma video. The only thing of note happening to him while wearing the vest was when his vehicle got struck by an FPV drone, although he wasn't hit by any shrapnel. This brings up an important talking point about the A25s and the differences between them. The vests clearly show a soldier versus consumer design philosophy. The A25 Starters was made more for the current war and was even tested before release, while the Hype on the other hand is obviously aimed more towards consumers but still can be utilized for war. While both have appeared in use, you can see a clear difference, one coming from direct action in unconventional groups in the Middle East and the other coming from trench warfare in Eastern Europe. But now onto the actual review. I want to preface this by saying that this vest is very expensive. It comes in at about 480 USD or 400 euros, and that's without soft armor inserts. That is a very high price point, which will immediately turn most people away, especially when something like an MTAC Sturmily costs around 265 USD or 225 euros. Also, that isn't accounting for shipping and import fees, of course. Now, let's add soft armor into the starters. More specifically, I'm going to pause for a second. It turns out I incorrectly said that PE was the only type of soft insert available, when it's actually Aramid on the international store. I'm not sure how I messed up that, but this rant still implies, and everything I talk about is similar enough, but yeah, alright. Or PE for short, as I'll be referring to it as, since that's the cheapest option available. On top of the already stated 480 USD, you're adding another 340 USD or 290 euros. So let's say you bought everything. Now you have this. The site photos do not do it justice. You get the vest itself, a special purity seal, which is a nice add-on, though this will come up later. The build quality is what you expect. Nothing really stands out. My basic stress testing, pulling on it, tugging at the stitching, shows it won't fail under below average force. In short, it's not your airsoft tier gear. It has a laser cut chest region with standard MOLLE everywhere else, unique looking cummerbunds, a MOLLE zip panel on the back, a corset system, a buckle on the left shoulder strap, and a quick release system. Now, here's my first issue, the lack of quick release tubes. I've owned many vests over the years, and even cheaper ones sometimes come with quick release tubes. They're very nice quality of life features. So why doesn't this nearly $500 vest include them? Yes, you can buy aftermarket ones, either $25 Chinese option or $40 on brand ones, but you've already paid $500 for the vest cover alone. While it's more of a nitpick than a serious flaw, I feel like at this price point they could have included them. But instead you get this little purity seal instead of some extra features. Still, outside of that, the quality has met my expectations. I pulled on the laser cut section with my fingers and even a carabiner. No ripping. Even after field use, everything held up. I've seen Ars laser cut fail in the past, but those seem to be one-off cases rather than something to expect regularly. All the moly stitching held firm, no ripping, no loose threads. Overall, the build quality is solid. Nothing exceptional, but exactly what you expect from a vest at this level. Now onto comfort and fit. I got a small/medium since I'm on the slimmer side, and it fits just fine. Once you adjust the cummerbunds, everything settles in. You can also use the shoulder buckles to get in and out if you just throw it over your head. The only warning I have is about the cummerbunds. It took me about 2 days of wearing it fully to adjust to them. Once I figured out how to position them correctly, the discomfort went away. But even then, they still take some getting used to. These feel awkward at first, and they did personally slightly interfere with performance on those 2 days, and even down the road a little. I still think it's a mix of user issues and how they were designed. Now, the vest itself weighs about 1.8 kilograms, or 4 pounds. With soft armor inserts, you're adding another 1.36 kilograms, or 3 pounds, bringing the total to about 3.2 kilograms, 7 pounds, without plates. That's just about under the weight of a medium MSV. During my first training session, I didn't have any caps installed. It wasn't terrible, but adding them definitely improves the comfort. For reference, I'm about 6 foot or 182 centimeters, and I had no issue running a belt with the vest. But say if you were someone smaller than, let's say, 170 centimeters or 5'7", you may not be able to run a belt with this vest. But now, let's talk about modularity. I ran a very basic watered-down rifleman setup, 4 double-stack mag pouches, a tear-off IFAK, a general purpose/utility pouch, and 2 grenade pouches as a very simple baseline. I wanted to try a machine gunner setup, but I didn't have the right pouches, nor did I have the items to do so. As the war continues, we're seeing more full coverage vests being chosen over slimmer carriers. With all the drills and PT I did, I never found any major issue with the vest or the load. The crochet system is something I always recommend looking for, especially if you're running ballistic plates. It really makes a difference in weight distribution. The cummerbunds, which I'll rant on next, while unconventional, don't get in the way that often, but still get in the way enough to note. I do recommend trying to position them slightly lower or changing them out to prevent interference with your arms. Now, let's talk about coverage. Oh goodness. Before we go into this, I want to say I've talked to a few people about it, and this is more of a general consensus mixed with my personal opinion rather than just my own thoughts. This vest has a very wide coverage. Just look at the inserts. This is why I mentioned earlier that it's more of a war vest. It's clearly designed to counter one of the biggest threats, shrapnel. People worry about leg protection, head protection, and neck protection, all of which are valid concerns, don't get me wrong, but many forget how many valid areas are in the chest and hip region. While people focus on protecting their front, back, and even now their legs, many don't think about their sides. A lot of people talk about the femoral artery being the new meta, but fewer mention the external iliac artery, or the hip area. You can't just slap a tourniquet on that, unlike the femoral artery. If you get hit there, you're packing that wound. Most people probably don't carry enough supplies to deal with it properly too. For reference, a 45th medic bag overview had no fewer than 15 Z-folds, better known as quick clots. And it can take about 1 to 3 full quick clot packs to manage a severe injury to the external iliac artery. The average person might only be carrying 1 to 2 depending on how prepared they are medically. Most people don't really think about it. For reference, an IFAK refill from North American Rescue usually only includes 1. With all that said, you can see why I push for a heavy soft armor on the cummerbund or general side area. That's where the external soft armor and designs like this come into play. Ours took a different approach with the ergonomic protective cummerbunds. While I didn't notice a dramatic ergonomic improvement, they clearly tried to prioritize protection and, movability. And tried is the word I use. They had the right idea, but I think the issue lies more in the execution. If you look at something like L4 Performance Side Soft Armor, you'll see what I mean. I feel like if the top portion of the cummerbund were flyer towards the middle to back section, it would have worked better. Instead, the shaping shifts more towards the end of the middle section. Still, I want you to note that this is likely a user fit issue and perhaps with a bit of a design limitation, but take that as you will. Now moving on, the front and back plates are straightforward. They're designed to cover a large portion of your chest and back, even more than other plate carriers. It's obvious they tried to maintain modularity while also covering a large surface area, which often cancels out itself. And here, it did. While this may seem simple compared to the cummerbund discussion, this is where I bring in a guest of mine. Hellvegan, who often rants about munitions, rocket launcher, and ballistics, and is a stinky Frenchman, has a strong technical insight. You may have seen some of his work if you lurk around on Twitter. If you're into that kind of content, give him a follow. I've linked him down below. Anyway, his rant brings up several good points. I've linked it below if you want to read it. His main argument is this: plate bags that are larger than the rigid plate defeats the purpose of maximizing efficient protection. Enlarging the plate bag requires full soft armor behind both the plate and the extra space, meaning much of that soft armor adds weight without increasing the actual protected surface area. Now, I can already see someone typing that the enlarged area is meant for shrapnel, and yes, that's true, but shrapnel is unpredictable and inconsistent. It should be noted that the armor inserts only go up to BR1 or BR1A on the cummerbund inserts, which is rated for fragmentation resistance C2 with a V50 of 561 meters per second. You might wonder, what does V50 mean? It means there's a 50% chance of stopping standardized fragmentation at that velocity. Think of something like a claymore at roughly 40 meters for the standardized fragmentation test. So yes, it's ideal for grenades and light shrapnel, but it comes at the cost of added weight. It's also important to consider that modern munitions increasingly use preformed fragmentations, which are more consistent and often more effective at penetration. Because of this, those older test numbers may no longer reflect the current real-world performance. For example, grenades such as the HG85 or the HGR06 can penetrate aramid-based soft armor panels like those used in vests such as the IOTV. He also adds some more technical points, but his core argument is that the extra weight would be better allocated towards side, groin, or belt protection. Now, as a reminder, that's his personal insight. I didn't want this to be one-sided. My takeaway is that if you want the extra protection against light shrapnel and can manage the added weight, then sure. His position is that oversized plate bags add weight and bulkiness without meaningful increasing protection. He also argues that the small additional coverage from larger plate bags can be achieved via other design choices for the armor system, and the saved weight could be used either to enhance the thickness of some inserts or add coverage somewhere else. Got it? I hope so. Now for final thoughts and if you should get the carrier or not. Coming in at 480 USD is very steep for a plate carrier. While I understand it's large, covered focus carrier, I still think at that price they could have included quick release straps and a cap for the front plate bag. The cummerbunds are a solid concept, but like many design changes, they don't always land the way they're intended. With a few adjustments and refinements though, I think they could have been generally great. The only really pro in my eyes is that it's a very big plate carrier with a good corset system. But that's kind of where I can only glaze it at. The cons are the very high price, the lack of accessories like quick release tubes and whatnot, and the caps that you have to buy yourself on a $480 plate carrier, and the cummerbunds, which, Overall, the vest sits in the middle lower area, so 4 out of 10. It's a great concept with a rather poor execution, but there are better values out there. Comparable options include the MTAC Sturm Elite, but that lacks the corset system. If you want to stick with Russian brands, the Kriegerkraft Magnum, or MBC's V4. Now, sorry this video took so long, but finally I can get it out and see how you guys feel about it. Thank you for your patience. I hope this helps give you some insights into your future vest purchases, and as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.